Update. Husband said he only dated me because I, female 28, was a dancer in high school, but didn't live up to expectations that he had. He also advocated to put our daughter in dance, and I don't feel comfortable anymore. Original story. I'm going to try and keep this as straight to the point as possible. My husband and I go back to our high school days, but we started dating around my final year of college. We were close in high school before college separated us a bit. He went away, I stayed local. But when he moved back, we slowly picked up and began to hang out again, and we hit it off pretty fast. He works in a firm, and I'm a clerk in an office. College was tough when my mom died of cancer in my sophomore year, but that's when he reached out and reminded me why he was my best friend. He flew out to see me and be there for the funeral, and even took me out numerous times to get me out of the home. That was the toughest time of my life, but also the thing that really drew us back together. He supported my career and was very supportive too, always going out of his way to give suggestions for moving up too, not to mention the many impromptu gifts too. However, I've been struggling with some of what he said recently during our 6th anniversary dinner, where he admitted that the reason he asked me out was because I was a gymnast/dancer in high school, but he also had a smirk while explaining it despite my surprise, honestly. He said that the funeral provided a chance to reach out, but when we were in high school, he would sometimes get off to gymnastics photos because of the outfits, and how it was like free adult material. It also joked that that's the only reason guys want to watch, and it honestly hurts my feelings. When I asked him why he was telling me this, he said it was because he had a few kinks in mind, but that he couldn't bring himself to ever ask and didn't know if I had lost my flexibility either. And I honestly felt kinda degraded at the moment when he said that I didn't live up to what he thought in the beginning. However, the main reason why I've been bothered about it is because we have a daughter, 6, who's currently in dance and gymnastics. And after what he said, I've just felt uncomfortable since he advocated for it too. I questioned if I was overreacting, but the more I thought about it, I just kept feeling worse. Like, what if he still gets off to that? If that's how he views the sport as a whole, besides maybe having an ulterior motive to like me the entire time, I don't feel comfortable with him taking her there and watching. And I keep telling myself that I'm overreacting, but I also think that I'm just trying to wish my fears away. That's why I'm writing this, because I honestly feel scared, and this was so out of character for him. He's never suggested kinks before, I should add. It has always been encouraging and respectful to me too. Sure, he makes jokes, but this one made me uncomfortable, and my dad hasn't been close to me since my mom passed too. I just feel scared and lonely in my thoughts, and I just need some advice on what to do, or if I'm just not thinking clearly. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I'm really sorry, but he sounds gross. He reached out when you were dealing with your mom's death, which means he knew you would be in vulnerable state. And a bonus for him was that you were a gymnast/dancer, and that you would be flexible. And he thinks of gymnastics as free adult material, and had all these kinks in mind and was unsure about your flexibility level, and decides to tell you that it didn't live up to his expectations? Charming. And the main part that gives me the heaves is he recommended his daughter to be in gymnastics/dance when he views the sport the way he does. And that apparently it's totally acceptable to get off to that instead of actual adult videos. I want to know who told him getting off to gymnastics was more acceptable. That's just plain creepy in my opinion. I'm not sure how to address this honestly, because thinking about it makes me increasingly uncomfortable. You can start by telling him how terrible what he said sounds. I just know that he sounds gross and I would feel cautious. I find it hard to believe he doesn't see it's weird he calls gymnastics that way, and he advocated his daughter to do the same sport that he admits to having kinks with and getting off too. I'm sorry. I don't know how to address it either, and the second time I tried to, he got really defensive, called me the bad guy among other things, and probably wouldn't be open to any kind of counseling together, and I don't even know how we would address that in counseling honestly. Main concern was how he refused to say that he didn't still watch it and told me to mind my own business, but I'm just concerned about our daughter right now. I don't want to sound negative, but with how he's acting would make me feel worse. He's trying to brush this off when it's concerning to you, and to tell you to mind your business when you're just trying to get clarification to make yourself feel better. And this whole situation has made you second guess his views on his daughter. Maybe you can try counseling on your own to try and find a way to address this? I want to on my own, since I don't really have too many people to talk to. I'm honestly nervous about bringing up the subject matter, but I know that I need to with someone. Wow, Your best friend has either changed or lied to you this entire time about his motives and what he saw in you. None of these are good. Let me ask you this bluntly. Do you want to wonder every time, a little thought in the back of your mind, that every time you see minors doing gymnastics and dance, that you will sexualize them? Is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? And your daughters? Your husband sounds creepy. I'm so sorry. It's really messed up though. And if I were you, I'd be in therapy. Couples or not, you need to talk this out with a professional. I really don't want to. But the second time that I tried to talk to him, he got really defensive, called me the bad guy, told me to mind my own business, and refused to say whether or not he was still watching it, then comparing it to my stance on adult stuff from the past when I told him that I was fine with its use, and using that to justify getting off to gymnastics, and says that it's better than actual adult materials because they are wearing something. I talked to him twice, and that hasn't done anything so far. I'm just trying to see what to do from here. Edit. When I talked to him and tried to explain how it made me feel, he reminded me of a past conversation where we talked about adult stuff, and he reminded me of how I said I was fine with its use, thus insinuating that gymnastics is like that by comparing it to that conversation. So when I tried to elaborate on my feelings, he just threw that at me and said I was overreacting. And I think there's a huge difference between adult materials compared to taking a sport out of context and using it as such. To which he said that getting off to gymnasts isn't as bad as adult movies because it's socially acceptable. When I tried to elaborate my feelings. When I asked him if he still gets off to gymnasts sometimes, he said that it didn't matter if he did. Because it is late and he is home, I'm going to call a therapist for myself tomorrow. And also my dad about going over to his place with my daughter since it's only been a day or so since the dinner. And she hasn't/won't be going to any sports as long as we're still here, which hopefully will be no longer than tomorrow. I just got scared and flustered when he yelled at me during our follow-up. And not having almost anyone to talk to besides posting here. Because after Mom passed, Dad wanted space and wouldn't respond to me for some time. But I think tomorrow and enough calls will have him help. And if not, a hotel as soon as tomorrow. I also had some depression after Mom, as you might have seen in other comments. That prevented me from making friends after finally getting out of being bedridden. And that's not an excuse, but I just wanted to ask and post here before I left and ask for anything my rushing mind might overlook. Like, what if I leave and have no evidence of what he did besides my word against his, if it comes to a custody battle? Say if he deletes the stuff on his phone. But as soon as tomorrow, I'll reach out to Dad and get out. And now for the update. A few people said that I overreacted in my first post, and that I was accusing him of things wrongfully. So I want to try to explain myself. I made my first post because I wasn't close to my dad. Dad wanted space after Mom passed, and there would be times when he wouldn't return my calls, unless it was something urgent or every once in a while. He was depressed after she passed, and I didn't have many friends outside of my job because I cut myself off from a lot of people after she passed. My husband helped fill the void when he flew down, but I regret moving away from some friends. I was able to call my dad and text him beforehand that it was urgent, and we were able to talk about everything that happened. He was surprised to hear what my husband said, saying that he probably had an ulterior motive the entire time. That was the hidden kink, that he only felt comfortable addressing on our anniversary. He strongly disagreed with his comments about gymnastics, saying that his defensiveness/degrading around a topic wasn't normal or a good thing. Not to mention advocating for our daughter to do the sport that he considers adult material and gets off too. He said that we could come over at any time, but when I wrote my last post, I said I was against going into his phone because I figured it would look controlling. But he and others said that it was fine given the circumstances. But he's been rather protective of his phone since our conversation, and he also changed the password when I left it to charge and I tried to get in. He knew my password before I recently changed it. He also has a laptop that I tried to view on Saturday when he went out with some friends like he usually does, but I never knew the password and he wasn't gone that long. He also asked if he'd be willing to go to counseling together for the second time, but he said no and got upset like he's been ever since I declined his kink where he wanted me to wear an old gymnastics uniform for roleplay. I have no issue with that, but it hurts when he said that the funeral meant nothing when he was upset, and that I owed it to him after how he was there for me. But again, when I asked if he currently gets off to underage gymnasts, he just smirked and said, what does it matter? And that I'm being a hypocrite when I said I'm fine with adult stuff. It has also told his friends/parents that I'm withholding intimacy from him and being manipulative because I declined his kink. And when he told me that he wanted me to meet with his parents, I didn't want to. And he just yelled at me again. He rarely yells, but this hidden kink has showed a new side of him. I'm I'm currently at my dad's with my daughter, and we didn't tell him when we were leaving. I was also able to record some of his views on gymnastics and getting off stuff, but he got upset and called my job and told them that I left with our daughter and a bunch of lies, and it's all been really stressful lately. I'm afraid of losing my job. I haven't been back at work, PTO, because I'm worried he'll show up there as we've been gone for a few days. However, and this is unrelated, we have a mutual friend whose son, male 15, recently came out to her as bi, and she came over a few weeks ago to talk about how to bring it up to her husband when her son was afraid to tell him. And while that has nothing to do with the situation, my husband was home when she came over and was supportive, but now is threatening to out him to the dad who he's close with if I don't come back. That's why I didn't reach out to the wife for advice. And I don't know if she told the husband yet. I'm considering calling her to give her a heads up, but the last time we talked, she hadn't told him yet because he can be awful. Thus why the son came out to her. I'm already stressed with my job and explaining everything to my daughter while dad helps with a lawyer. Now that extra piece, and I just need advice on what to do. Not only for myself, but now also this friend who is brought into the equation to try and get us to come back. So he's a giant piece of trash, and is now using the neighbor's kid's sexuality as a weapon. Run. It's honestly like he's become a different person since refusing his kink that he said I owed him for helping me gain weight when I was bedridden after my mom passed and my doctor was concerned. We're at my dad's now, and I'm considering calling the kid's mom to give her a heads up and probably have to tell her what's going on to some extent on our end, which is what I'm going to do so that she isn't blindsided. Absolutely vile perspective and behavior. Do not feel guilty for leaving him. Would you want your daughter to be with a man like him? Absolutely not. I can't even believe that he involved her. Call her and tell her that you have no control over the situation so that she could take necessary steps. There's no indication your husband won't out the young lad anyway. This box is already open. Nothing else to do about it. That's what I'll tell her, and I'm honestly scared to have that conversation. But maybe opening up a little about what I'm going through can comfort her somewhat. Although it's hard to really open up about what my husband's been saying. Even to my dad. It was hard. I missed your first post, but how can anyone say you're overreacting? I would not be okay with my partner saying those things, especially with my daughter in the sport. As for your update, don't give in to him. You may never have another opportunity to leave. Call your friend to give her a warning. You also need to call your boss/HR, and while not give them the full story, explain you and your daughter are in the process of being separated/getting a divorce. Because you need to get one. This guy's nuts. Please contact a divorce attorney or a women's shelter. They can help provide support and resources, and start the process of getting this guy away from you and your daughter. Save and record any interactions with your husband in case you need the evidence. Dad's helping with a lawyer, and we're currently with him now. I just hate how he's using this voice coming out to his mom as leverage against us, which is why I'm trying to find out how to tell her. Now for the last story. My 29 female boyfriend, 29 male of 2.5 years wants to pause our relationship to figure himself out. Am I being unfair if I say no? I'll try to keep this short. He's going through a stressful/transitionary period in his career and living situation, and is extremely unsure of what he wants to do with his life. He recently admitted that he thinks he needs a few months on his own to figure his life out. He wants to pause our relationship, which seems to mean that we remain an exclusive couple but don't actually date or really interact for that time. Then, once he figures his life out, we would begin dating again. The problem is, he also admitted he's not ready to commit to a future together yet, and may not be willing to compromise on his choices in order to maintain the relationship. He is considering decisions that would mean making a drastic life change, like moving abroad, which would mean breaking up. I really want to be supportive and give him the space he needs during this time. However, I really don't think I can be okay with staying together in this way, where we don't interact, and I'm stuck just waiting around to see if he actually wants to continue the relationship or not. I want to tell him that if he needs to be alone, he cannot simultaneously have me as a girlfriend. We would need to break up, with the possibility of getting back together if and when he is sure that's what he wants. I feel like I'd be the bad guy though if I told him as such, and I'm not being truly supportive. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to approach the situation. There is no pause button in relationships. Either they are in a relationship or out of it. Couples face changes and challenges together, not put a pause on it and go about things solo. That's not what being in a relationship is about. This is what I think I know deep down but needed to hear. Thank you. He doesn't get to make unilateral decisions about your relationship status. Tell him he's welcome to leave and you may or may not have moved on when he's ready to come back. This. He can leave, but he can't expect you to wait around. If/when he's ready to come back and you're single and want him back, then fine. But you shouldn't have to remain single indefinitely while he figures things out. And fair to who? The most fair thing to you in this situation is to heal and move on. If he loved you and wanted to be with you, he would. He can stay or go, but it is completely unfair to make you sit around waiting on him like a dog. Yeah, I think this is the thing I know deep down, but was having a hard time coming to terms with. Thank you. No way. Sorry, even from a guy's perspective, that's some BS. Either he's in a relationship or he's out. Don't let him put you on a bench while he figures stuff out. He can either figure things out with you or without you. And if it's without you and you aren't available by the time he does figure out that he wants you to be part of the picture, that's his loss. Yeah, I keep thinking of a scenario where I move on and then he does decide he wants to continue the relationship after all, and I say no. Right now, I can't help but feel some amount of guilt in that scenario, but having this perspective helps.